Okay, so I am recording this after a complete technological letdown of not being able to get through on YouTube to connect with all of you in my live. I am so sorry about that. I think, every time I do one of these things, I learn, and I think what I learned is do not schedule these during other high streaming national events. I think the Super Bowl going on and taking up a lot of the bandwidth is probably what is going on with it. I do know doing a channel at this time tonight is incredibly important. Spirit team would not have had me line it up if they didn't think I should be doing this. They very specifically wanted me to do this. And the crazy thing is I could see all you guys doing the comments, and right around 5:22, I could feel the channel begin to come through. So first I want to say is thank you so much for all of you taking the time, scheduling it, showing up. I mean, this is hard. I am incredibly heartbroken. It's not going to be the last time that we try and get together. We will definitely get together. But I'm just going to try and emotionally collect myself here because I still have a message to get through to you tonight that is still very important. So I'm going to record that, have a little dinner, and get this edited and posted to you as soon as I possibly can. All right. We are going to begin with what I like to begin with, which is energetic space setting. So what I would like you to do is breathe in, blow it out, shrug it off, shake it out, and we call in highest light, wholest love, deepest knowing, highest intent for ourselves, the universe, and all those we're connected to. We call in our highest guides, gods, guards, entities, angels, energies, ascended masters, elementals, and divine ETs to help us, guide us, and protect us. Please bring through the highest resonating, most important information and energies. Please help me translate those as cleanly and clearly as possible, and also help you receive and experience your own messages and information as well. Okay, so all right, so the first thing you need to know is there is really high council here tonight, like extremely high council, and that might be part of the reason we weren't able to connect, is that we all really needed to be in that really, really high vibrational space. And if we were on streaming with other stuff going on in the national sphere, that might have been a lot more difficult for us to connect to. I can hear Spirit Team say something along the lines of just the fact that all of us were gathering in that sacred feminine space during the time of another event in another energy space. It says a whole lot about who we are, what we are doing, and how valuable and important that is. Okay. I do need to make note. After I release this video, there is going to be another video I release right after it called hashtag BFW or hashtag what is BFW. And I think this is connecting into us being willing enough to have enough of an ego about the sacred feminine to show up on a night when that is not necessarily being celebrated. That says a lot about us. That's really important as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and begin to channel and get into the channel. Spirit Team wanted me to begin tonight with something that they had been working with me on for a couple of days leading up to this, okay? And usually when I come into these events, I do my preparations, I list out my checkpoints because I want to make sure I am prepared to deliver really good information of value for you because you are spending your precious time being in space with me, and I really appreciate it. I want to make that worth your time. Coming into this event, this evening, Spirit Team, every time I wanted to go prepare, they're like, nope, nope, nope. And instead, they rerouted me to watch this very specific television show. Now, this very specific television show is not something that I would normally watch. Quite frankly, it's the opposite of what I would normally watch. And they're like, Dana, we need you to watch this. We need you to watch this. We need you to watch this. And so I have been watching some episodes of the show, and no, I'm not going to tell you because to me, it would be like me being the spiritual person that I am, telling you what I watched. It's such a disconnect. It's like, what? She's watching that? So just know that it's something opposite of what I would usually watch. So they have me start watching the show, and I can feel myself beginning to feel certain things, and I'm like, Spirit Team, why, why, and they're like, just keep watching. And so I got into about the 4th or 5th episode of this show, and I began to have this feeling from spirit world of emotional positioning, okay? So the thing that I was going to lead off with on the live streaming with you guys, and what feels like really profound and important to talk with you right now about, is the week we are headed into. It is going to be very important how you are aware of your emotional positioning. And now remember, Spirit Team had me set this up because they're like, we want to talk with everyone, Dana, because we want to help them get prepared for this week. Well, what do they want to do to help us get prepared for this week? Ooh, there's the energy. There's the confirmation. They're saying, we want you all to begin to be emotionally prepared in a certain way that you normally wouldn't think of. So you're going to kind of have to let go a little bit, sit back a little bit, and kind of go, be a little bit more curious about this. Because just remember, Spirit Team had me watch a completely opposite-ended show that I wouldn't normally watch to get me emotionally prepared for this channel for this week. Just remember that, okay? So then, what kind of there it is. Yep, that's a confirmation. What kind of emotional preparation are we looking at? Spirit Team wants you to know it is twofold. It's twofold, and it's kind of the walk we've been doing anyway. And I can hear somebody saying, "Oh no, this is much, much, much more amplified." So what I'm going to give to you are going to be two pieces, two primary pieces, but then they're like, Dana, you're going to take this and it's going to get amplified this week. Okay. So, and I can hear off in the background, they're saying something about toxic patriarchy having its last hurrah. And I think they're talking about the Super Bowl right now, basically. Toxic patriarchy having their last hurrah right now. So, twofold. What are the two different things that you need to be aware of this week to be emotionally prepared for the events, okay? Now, this feels very much like, this harkens back to very much the channel that I did just prior to the election. Because just prior to the election, it was like, the psychic stuff, who's going to win? And Spirit Team was like, we don't want to talk about that. We want to get you emotionally prepared. And that was a pretty accurate thing to do because there was a whole bunch of us who had an emotional fallout, right? To me, this there's a harbinger in here. To me, this the little deja vu, a little bit like, oh my God, we're replaying that again, except kind of on the flip side of it. And so Spirit Team is going, we want to get you emotionally prepared. We really don't want to talk with you about, who's sitting in the seat of the WH. We really don't want to talk with you about predictive stuff. Maybe we'll talk with you a little bit about timing. Spirit team is most concerned about your emotional well-being. Okay, that should say something right there. Okay, and then I can hear something along the lines of, we are very concerned about your emotional well-being for the events that are going to be playing out over the next 10 days, but especially this week, probably potentially towards the end of the week. Like I keep hearing, like I've been hearing the last 2 days, like kind of a 10-day thing. Okay. All right. Then they're saying unimaginable things are going to begin to land and happen like a domino effect. And no one, no matter who they are or where they are positioned, no one is prepared for the fallout. Like there are those positioned that are moving forward in the really toxic stuff. And there are those in the position of like, oh my God, look at democracy taking the tank. There's that positioning. And then there's the other positioning of, oh my God, what's happening with in the background, the contest stuff. But Spirit Team is saying no one can see the big picture of certain events beginning to land and then a domino effect of a fallout happening. Spirit Team is most concerned for you about your emotional well-being with the fallout and how you physically respond to it, okay? One of the channels they gave to me right before I came on was, what we are going to experience over the next 10 days is unlike anything we ever have. And that's saying something. And the reason that is saying something is, look at everything that we've experienced so far. Like, at this point, you tell somebody in America that something is coming up and they're going to experience something, they're like, oh yeah, well, they told us about the aliens. So, like our impact zone, our emotional impact zone is like, our threshold is kind of gone at this point, right? And Spirit Team is saying, that's why we're concerned. Your emotional threshold is pretty much out the window at this point, and what you're going to be seeing and experience is so far beyond what you're focused on and encapsulating, and that's why we are concerned about you. So there's a couple things they would like us to begin to do, all right? There's a couple shifts they would like us to begin to do, and one of those shifts is that we have been told, remember that whole Ark of the Covenant, the banshees are leaving the box, step away from the window, don't watch so much. There's a little bit of a shift in that messaging. And the shift in the messaging is stay backed away from the window, but you're going to want to kind of pay a little bit more attention so you at least know what's going on. So there's a little bit of a shift in like, you're going to have to watch so you can see what's going on, so you can see what's coming, but there's a concern of like, don't get too attached to it because it's all going to move really rapidly, okay? So that's number one. And there's like an emotional ride with that, and that is an emotional ride they do not want us connecting to, but they want us paying close enough attention so we know physically what's happening for our physical safety, our physical well-being, our situational awareness of everything that's going on. So that's part of it, okay? The other part of it is, and this is like more on the amazing good side of it, the other part of it is, as much as possible, we need to be connected into and practicing being in the new timeline. So no matter what domino effect is falling out, we need to be aware of that for our physical safety, our situational awareness of our physical safety and being distanced from that. But at the same time, we need to be practicing being in our new timeline, higher vibrations, in that new sequencing as much as possible. Now, here's some of the really good news. And this came in a couple of days ago. They said, There are enough of us now on the planet in that new timeline, aware of the new space, aware of the new momentum forward, that what needs to happen can happen now. And I think what they're talking about now is that domino effect. Because can I tell them about Thursday morning yet? So let me tell you a little bit about a story here. Thursday morning, I got up Thursday morning. You know, Thursday was a very big day this past week. Thursday was a huge day. Thursday was a pivot point day. I got up Thursday morning, spirit team like hustled me into my meditation space in a very specific room, and I got in there and they'd already set up the energy. It was amazing and beautiful and wonderful. You know, and I already kind of like taken care of the dog for the pee run and got the cat situated a little bit, and so like I got all hunkered into this. It was like a dome. It was like, oh my God, it was this most amazing, beautiful energy, beautiful light feel. Like it was just incredible. And they ushered me in, hustled me into this place, and I got all settled in. And they basically said to me, they said, Dana, the transformation is going to be incredible. It is going to be beyond anything you can imagine. And so there was this whole encouragement and celebration, and they were really trying to give me a sense of like how huge this was, a sense of like, this is so far beyond anything you can imagine, and it's already beginning to take place. Like you guys are already on that threshold. And that's about when it was like during, I can't remember if it was during that or Friday morning, there was a sense of like, there's enough of you now. There's enough of you in this new threshold, on this new timeline, in this new space, so that when the fallout happens, when the domino effect happens, when the fallout happens, there's enough of you anchoring in and stabilizing in the new space for this to work. Okay? If there weren't enough of us stabled into the new space, it would all destabilize and fall out, right? And we don't want that. We really don't want that, all right? So what is incredible to me is that, and now I want to back to those 2 points of how they want us to be emotionally prepared. This is what they want me to tell you. They want me to tell you that no matter how much domino fallout effect you see, you need to know that there are enough of us stabilizing in the new timeline to anchor in this new space for this to work. So we're going to kind of have to be willing to emotionally hold both positions, like human feel and see the fallout happening and have our moments of like, oh my God, but not get so freaked out and buy into it so much. We got to be able to see, like step away from the window, see it a little bit, but then know that this new timeline that we are walking in, that we are stepping in, it is already working. And so our job is, no matter what we see over the next, week, 10 days, no matter what we see that might be extreme or upsetting or like, oh my God, I can't believe that's going on. No matter how much we're doing that, we need to know we're already walking in that new timeline, and we need to anchor it in, anchor it in, anchor it in, anchor it in. Those of you here watching this, if you're going, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that, I'm like what I want to tell you is like, oh my God, you came for this. You came for this. You came to be here through the fallout so you could anchor in the new space, the new timeline. That's what we're doing, folks. That's what we're doing. So anytime you have that moment of like, oh no, you need to remind yourself you are anchoring a point of light. You are a pioneer, okay? Now, Spirit Team wants me to get back to another place of, hang on, they want me to get back to that emotional preparation place, like why they had me watching this show, okay? So, that show they had me watching that I wouldn't normally watch, and I could feel myself emotionally arrive into this kind of place, and basically Spirit Team was calling it emotional positioning. There's a sense of you arriving into an emotional place of having a little bit more moxie, okay? And I think this is going to connect into that video that I recently made called the BFW. You need to go watch the video on the BFW, okay? And so those of us in the spiritual community, we tend to be more touchy-feely, more light, more kind of going with the flow, all of that. And a lot of times we tend not to have a backbone. You know, a lot of times we tend not to have very good boundaries. A lot of times we tend not to be able to tell people no. So here's the thing. There's going to be things going on. You're going to have to draw up your ego a little bit. You're going to have to draw up your moxie a little bit. You're going to have a little bit of oomph going on, okay? Because some of what we're going to see happen with the fallout, that domino effect fallout that's going to happen, you're going to need to know how to stand to take care of yourself and speak up for yourself and have boundaries and have a little bit of moxie, and that is okay, all right? Not that you need me giving permission, but if you need permission, it's like, it's okay to have some boundaries and tell somebody to fuck off so you can take care of yourself. That's okay. That is actually being spiritual. My mentor, Linda, she once said to me, she said, you know what, Dana, one of the most powerful spiritual self-care words you can say, that you can use for yourself to say to somebody else is no. And it's perfectly okay to say no, and you can say no, thank you, and you can say fuck no. So just kind of tuck that in. Now, Spirit Team also wants me to move into this other point. There may be types of fallout going on, domino effect fallout going on, that depending on where you're living out in the country and depending on what your situation is, you could be physically at risk. And that's why you need to have some situational awareness. Now, I have been in some other situations, like in some group situations or other situations spiritually, where I got shushed for not warning people. Okay? I'm not going to fall into that trap again. This is one of those instances. The next 10 days, you need to have a very high situational awareness for where you live, where you work, where you interact, who you're interacting with. You need to have a very high situational awareness so that you can not only emotionally take care of yourself, physically take care of yourself. And so you need to be intuitively tuned in for knowing right time, right space for where it's okay for you to be at and where it is not. And if you are getting intuitive hits on that, you need to pay close attention. Okay, so here's what I can say is, the types of things that are going to be going on, we may be going through a sociological whiplash. And when or if that whiplash happens in the way that it does, there may be people who feel like the only thing they can do is retaliate. And the only way they can retaliate is target other people, okay? And that's why it's going to be very important for you to have a situational awareness so you are always walking in the new timeline in the right space, right time, so you don't get lost in somebody else's stuff. That said, I want to point out some larger events that I've watched happen. So on Thursday of last week, that Monday morning when Spirit Team was like, oh my God, the transformation is going to be great, amazing. It's so beyond everything, the new timeline, the threshold, it's all happening. It's going to happen. And then Spirit Team said that by the end of Thursday, there were going to be some big events that went off. Well, there were a couple of big events by the end of the day, Thursday and into Friday. And here's just the lump sum of them. We saw a Philadelphia commuter train go up in flames. That was no accident. We saw a small commuter airplane in Alaska crash. That was no accident. We saw one of our military planes on regular surveillance in the Philippines. That crashed. That all happened within a 24-hour period. None of those were accidents, okay? And this was right around the same time that judge handed down the ruling on Doge, D-O-G-E, and basically blocked it. And so from what I can tell, there's movement going on behind the scenes, and every time there's a movement step on the contest behind the scenes that I can feel going on, there is a retaliatory physical action of destruction that happens where we can see it that never really gets fully answered to. So Thursday, there was a lot going on with Spirit Team saying, oh my God, it's amazing, it's moving forward. Eight-headed monster doing retaliatory accident things. Judge handing down a decision on Doge, blocking Doge, and at the same team, Spirit Team was on fire, so to speak, telling me like Thursday night into Friday, I had so many body impacts of it's happening, it's moving forward, it's moving forward, it's happening. And yet I can't see anything. And then I would be like looking at CNN headlines, and it looks like from another timeline of all the, White House presidential stuff. So for those of you closely watching things on Thursday and Friday going, I don't see it happening. It's like the topical stuff, I don't see it happening. It's like, oh my God, so much happened. We're transforming the new timeline behind the scenes, the contest, the backdoor contest stuff, that's all moving forward. And on the front scenes, we're seeing eight-headed monster stuff going on. Doge got blocked. Like, there was a lot that happened on Thursday and Friday. To the point where I was almost kind of surprised I did not see actions taking place. But just know, like Thursday, Friday, things were not stationary. There was a lot in motion. Oh, and I should probably say, like, when I saw the Doge thing come through on the headline, the judge blocking that, all I could hear was Trojan horse, Trojan horse, Trojan horse, which tells me that something is going on with the legal nature of things that are going to be used as Trojan horses to bring other things forward. Then there are two other pieces that I wanted to share with you. This has just kind of been hovering and coming up. And it occurred to me that part of the process here, as far as evidence collection, has to do with there is now proof of certain people illegally dismantling the Constitution. Like, there is now proof of that. And if we go back to what was all the Democratic leadership saying throughout? They kept saying upholding the Constitution and the peaceful transfer of power. So now we get to a very interesting place that we now have very public proof that the Constitution is illegally being dismantled. That counts for something, people. That counts for something. And then right at the end of the week, AOC came on and said some very specific words on her TikTok that went something like this. She said, quote, "Move in the faith that we are going to win. No one knows what is going to happen between now and then, but winning is a decision." Now, the context of her video is like, you already have to be in the place of deciding you're going to win so that you can win. But the sentence structure that she used is like, sometimes people who know things can't cover up what they know because their giveaway is in how they structure a sentence. And me paying attention to words and picking up on things, let me read this part to you again. No one knows what is going to happen between now and then. If AOC didn't know anything, why would she even say that sentence? If she's just giving us a rah-rah talk to fight fascism, she wouldn't even say that sentence. So let me say it again. No one knows what is going to happen between now and then. What is then? that and then piece, that's smoke, that's fire. That's an important piece of the puzzle right there. So when she said that, I was like, oh, they fucking know. They're like, there are things going on. They're still alive. And she's basically saying, hey, continue to hold the faith because we are winning. All right. There is one last piece of information that Spirit World wants me to share with you, and that has to do with the whole getting caught in the crossfire. What Spirit Team has kept intimating to me this whole time has been, this is so huge. This is so beyond the imagination or the scope of what you can even imagine. It is going to catch everybody so off guard. And the domino effect of the fallout is so huge, you're not even emotionally ready for it. And one of the things that they started saying to me this evening that began to get me a little bit uneasy was they started saying this thing of, they basically said, when this thing gets going, a lot of people are going to get caught in the crossfire on both sides. And I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but I think the meaning of you guys got to step away from the window and stay unattached from events as much as possible, but you need to be enough aware so you don't get caught in the crossfire. That's a really important part of the message for your emotional well-being, and I also believe for your physical safety. So I know we're all tired. I know a lot of us are somewhat disillusioned as far as the timing of things, but at the same time, there's a feeling from Spirit World of keep the hope and keep walking on the new timeline, but don't be an idiot. Heads up, situational awareness, so you do not physically or emotionally get caught in the crossfire as the dominoes begin to fall with something that is so much larger than we can even anticipate. And part of this has to do with the fact that the current administration, if you can call them that at all, the current administration has knocked out so many of the underpinnings at this point that a federal response system to things may not be in place if certain events are to take place. And so that is going to fall to the states and the regions to be able to have some sort of response system. Now, as I'm saying this, I don't know if it's going to come to that or not, but it's all the more reason that you need to be paying attention, not so attached, with a high level of situational awareness and a very strong sense of moxie as you're walking in the new timeline. So this is a mix of a very different emotional combo for you to be emotionally positioned and prepared. Now, some of you may be listening to this and you're like, why don't we just go all in on the new timeline? And I will say to you, because you're leaving part of yourself wide open in a physical situational awareness, emotional situational awareness thing. Like, you got to have your moxie going as you're walking in the new timeline. And I know that kind of feels like, chewing gum and walking at the same time, but that's something you're going to need to be aware of doing. Ultimately, I do believe we are going to get to that new place, that better place, but it is going to take some moxie on our part to be able to do the steps through into that space, into that new time. So that's what I've got for you this evening. Again, I am so sorry that the technology didn't connect and work out for us. As I'm doing this channel and getting you this information, I'm going through rounds of my own heartbreak of we didn't get to connect the way that we wanted to. We will do that again soon as I get messaging from Spirit Team and I get myself collected again and do a right time, right place again. And I just thank all of you who showed up total bells and whistles on. I was total bells and whistles on, and this was just a really a real heartbreak challenging thing to have happen. But we'll continue on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to still keep doing my stuff. We're still going to get together. So keep the faith, keep moving forward so the miracles can meet you along the way, and I will see you out there on the airwaves.